Okay, how are you doing? How are we all doing today? Hello. So, I'm running real low on leather and I want to keep making these bands. And one of the things you'll notice about all these bands I'm doing is each one has been different. Okay, so I'm playing with these ideas and styles. There's little styling differences here. I'm going to point those out to you. Now, I also I found this piece of leather. So I have this one piece. Now, this is horsehide. This was given to me by Chad, my buddy Chad Logan, Mr. Tick. He's got a new YouTube channel. You should check him out. I think it's Tick One or Tick Oneer. He's just getting at it, but he's got some old videos on there. And he's got real chops with editing and whatnot. I think his video is going to be very entertaining. I was making, Zulu style straps from this horsehide, which is pretty thick. It's nice stuff. It's chrome tanned, I believe is what that is, and so it doesn't have color on the back. I think the bison hide's chrome tanned as well, but I could be wrong. I don't know all these terms exactly what they all specifically mean, and I should. I'm not an expert. I'm learning. You're watching me learn here. But the bison hide I've noticed is always pretty good with the color all the way through. With the which I guess it's been stained. This is a wrist bracelet I made for somebody who's too small. This will fit a 6 3/4 inch wrist. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. So, anyhow, what I'm gonna do here is should be enough leather for me to get one Bund or two Bunds out of it, and one long length of strap here, which would be enough for one watch boom and an extra Bund. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out one of these Bunds now. I'm going to cut this piece of leather right here. And I should have enough to do another one all out of this smooth black where the straps and the Bund match. On this one, on this Bund, it's going to be this flat black, right? But I'm going to sew on the patch here, right, that the strap's going to go through. And I'm going to use this leather. I'm going to try to make that out of these scrap pieces I have here. And then these two pieces here are for the strap. Okay. And all of this will be lined with this calf skin I have here, this cowhide. And I have a whole giant cowhide of this that somebody gave me probably at least a decade ago. It's just been in a bag. So now I have a use for it. It's going to last me forever. Now, the next band that I make, I did the slots in this last night. I will cut these slots in it, and it's going to be this style. I'm going to show you all these styles on my wrist to compare them and show you in a moment. Now, it's weird. This type takes longer, right? Because you got to make all these extra parts. You have to, try to burnish these edges and all the extra stitching it takes. You have to take material away here so the glue will stick, and you glue these on first and you clamp them, and all these extra steps make this take longer. However, this style, right, where you cut the slots in, is far more tedious because it's very difficult for me at this point to get that perfect. And what I'm going to really need to do is make a decision. If I'm going to do more of this style, then I'm going to get these cutters. They sell these where it's one shot with a hammer. Whack, you whack it and it cuts it out perfect. That makes the most sense. The way you do it, if you don't have that, is use a hole punch on two ends and you connect the lines with a razor knife. But I got to tell you, that's probably easy to do on thinner leather. But all the stuff I'm using, I don't know if my calipers are in here. All the stuff I'm using is much thicker than what other people are using when they're making their watch bands. That's the difference. This piece in particular is 3 mil. This piece here is 3.2 millimeters. This is a lot thinner. Yeah, this is 2.0. That's 2 millimeters. Now my bands, I've had some of this, that's 3.7 millimeters that I've stitched through. Got some more over here. Nice piece here. This is all scrap that Chris, my buddy Chris who makes my boots, sent me. That's 3.1 there. So I guess a lot of this is pretty close to 3 mil. This feels a little thicker. 3.3. So you can see what's going on. Most of the people who are making your watch cuffs are not using material this thick. 4.0. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing it to you because when you have leather that's that thick and you punch a hole in a hole and you try to get that line straight across there, it's just not that easy to do. Holding that knife perfectly vertical, I'm going to have to get those tools to do one quick punch. They're not super expensive, but I have to determine what size I want. And they're all different, right? So this is a 20 millimeter lug width. That's the width of that band. This one here is 24 millimeters, as is this one. I think this one here is 20. Some of them are 22. This one here is 22. It just so happens that this scrap, I cut this for another band. I made others, and I cut all these at the same time. That happens to be 22 millimeters, so that's going to work out perfect. I think I have some brown that's cut to that size as well. I think it's up here, just to show you. Yeah, and when I made the Atlas, the band, the Zulu strap for the Seiko Atlas, I made these, and they're all 22 millimeters, so that fits on that lug as well. And I was considering doing the Bund in this black and doing a brown strap as a contrast, which I might do that. I might go ahead and when I make this one I'm going to make today, I might make an extra set of straps for it with this leather here and just put it on to see how it looks. I like the idea of mixing the different types of leather. You don't see that very often. Usually it's all monotone like this here. You might see something like this where somebody's used black thread like I used here or on here. All right. Contrasting thread here. Real quick, let's just talk about all these different styles. Just, you know, I mean, they're right in front of you. You can see it, but it's what I've learned here on YouTube. Is it's always nice if you can point this stuff out to people. And then before I even get to that, just here's another Aragon I picked up that's kind of special. It's actually an Android. This is a Swiss movement watch. I don't know if that's going to focus. I hope it does. And it's kind of special. The problem with this is that the distance between the spring bar and the case is so tight. That is so tight. So I'm going to have to machine that case a little bit again with my Dremel so I can get a thick enough piece of leather to put a band on this, because this is going to look spectacular on one of my Bunds. That's just going to be a really special watch. This is 500 meter water resistance. I mean, look at this thing. It's a friggin' tank, man. 50 millimeter, great loom. I got this at a great deal, and it's pretty much in perfect condition. It was probably never worn. Well, it was worn. It had a band on it. It had a metal band that didn't have enough links to fit me. And it was a little mucked up. As a matter of fact, this one doesn't. I do need to scrub this with some soap and water. So it was worn, but it wasn't abused at all. There's no real scratches on it or anything else. That's going to be a special watch on a Bund. And as I've mentioned before, and my buddy Sabo did a review on the watch I sent him, my intention on this is just to make these for fun for myself, have some fun with it, and if I want to sell them, like these I did build to sell, they're coming with the watch. And, you know, so I mean, it's a real quality piece here. Again, lined it with the calfskin. I leave this adjustable. On some of them, I've sewn it in place for different reasons. I did that here. I'll show these to you in detail in a moment, or as we go. Just keep watching. So, again, this is an Addy's dive watch, stainless steel, 316L, 200 meter water resistant, locking screw down crown, sapphire crystal, really cool bubble domed, double domed crystal on there. Really cool loom on this watch. It just looks super cool, man. Super tough. It seems stiff right now. It's been sitting in a drawer, but these, as we know, with this bison hide, once you start work, it's very supple. It breaks in very, very quick. I just don't want to do that with these now because I want to send them out. I also changed the buckles on both of these last night. They match now. And it's kind of a neat looking buckle. I like that buckle. And the leather goes through it real nice. So there are 2 of these that are available. I forget which is which. One of these will fit. Yeah. This one here fits me better with a 7 5/8, the 7 3/4 inch wrist. And this one here is a little bit snugger. You can see I kind of fit it on there one time. This watch here, probably a little bit better if you've got probably like a 6.5 to 7 1/4 inch wrist. And then this one here up to 7 5/8 or so. A little bit more comfortable for you. And yeah, if you guys are interested, let me know. But what I wanted to point out is on these, again, contrasting stitching. This is an applied piece here. This is a keeper. I'm calling this kind of a keeper as well, that the strap goes through. All right. You see how that is there. And slightly adjustable on here. You know, you can slide that through the Bund. And again, this is comfortable on the wrist. I like it. I know it looks funny to some people, and these were in vogue at different periods. In the 70s, they were very, very popular. The Bund style is something that came about in... people said they were out there as early as World War I. They became more popular for pilots, which I suppose World War I, but also mainly World War II. And the German army used them, and Bund is short for this town where they were manufactured, which I can't pronounce that name. But the idea is if it's super hot out, the watch gets hot. So if you're in the desert and it's over 100 degrees, 117 degrees or more, that watch is hot and it is burning your skin. And if you were up in the atmosphere there flying a plane, things get super cold. And so if the metal is on your wrist, it freezes, and that freezes on your wrist. So that's the idea of this. But it's also fashionable. It looks pretty cool. And in the 70s, people started going ape shit with it, right? With the cuff, like this style thing. Now I was so pleased with myself when I made this cuff. I actually bought www. Gladiator watch cuff because I thought, man, this is just incredibly tough looking. You know, I just figured people would maybe want this. I'm not marketing it. I'm not doing commercials or anything like that. This is just me all by myself, you know, playing with this idea. I did make one for my brother. And you see how this works here. I like these nice thick keepers because with one nice thick keeper, you don't need 2. And it holds that real well. And you can see how this works here. Don't know what's in frame there, sorry. You're on a weird angle for me. I've not done this before. It's your first time seeing this point of view. But that's that. And it's a good distance wrap around the hand. It leaves the bottom pretty open so it breathes. A lot of people made comments when I first did this, like, that looks like it's going to sweat on your hand, like they're imagining in the summertime. But I'll tell you, I wore this in over 80 degrees working on a roof. I was perfectly fine. The leather breathes. The air gets under there. It's fine. It's a lot better than a rubber strap, I'll tell you that. And a metal strap, which I like, because it does tend, it feels like the metal wants to dissipate the heat like fins on an engine block or something. But if it's real hot, the bracelet gets hot and your hand gets hot. So I like this. It's my thing. And there's something about the leather wrapping around your wrist. It's just a little bit of pressure there. Seems to relieve any pain you might have in your wrist. And it's interesting point of fact. Mr. Majestic over there, Mike, at the Majestic Watch Joint. It's Majestic WJ. So it's Majestic Watches and Jewelry over on Larchmont there in Los Angeles. He wears this. That's what I made for him. And he has a Bund strap on his left wrist with a Rolex on it. And he was telling me, you know, he's working with his hands all day, and he likes having a snug leather cuff on both hands. He says it relieves pain in his wrist. And he was trying to tell me that, like, a lot of hard-working dudes do that. I don't know. Now, this band here, with the... what is that? That's the True North Watch Company version of the Rolex Daytona. This was sent to me. I did a review on it. I looked at the Bund band that Paul Newman wore, and I made this version for myself. Now, it's the same style as this, but you can see I made the pass-through much thicker because that's what the Paul Newman was. The difference is the Paul Newman Bund was styled more like this one. It was slots cut in it. So when it's on your wrist, it's tighter on the wrist. It doesn't bulge as much. Both of these bulge quite a bit. Now that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's an aesthetic. It's a design aesthetic. You might not like it. It is not for everyone. This does remind me of Princess Leia. I'm calling this the Princess Leia Bund. You know, the big thing she had on the side of her head. I put this, this is one of the buckles I got from Mike. It says relax on it. There's a kit you can buy. It's a Rolex kit. So if you buy a homage Rolex watch, and every company seems to make one these days, you can buy a dial that instead of Rolex, it says relax on it. And it has a couple other funny things written on the dial, and it comes with that buckle that says relax. I just happen to find it in a pile, and I put it on here. So I'll put this on for you. Again, you can see lined. My stitching line went off there on the bottom, but it looks good on the top. Oh, that's because of I was stitching over this. So this is a nice straight line here. Just on the bottom, it looks off. Doesn't matter. It's up against your wrist. Again, it doesn't matter here anyhow. This is not. I don't intend on selling this. I'll put this on and I'll show you what I mean by the size here, the way it fits on the. It's so comfortable, this watch. All right. Boom. And there that is. So for some, seeing that bulge it's unsightly to them. But to me, I like it. I really, really, I genuinely like this. And I didn't think I was going to. That's just cool. And now this is like, it's like a 37 millimeter case. So it's a tiny watch. I mean, look at this. This is a 50 millimeter case. When you look at them, it's crazy in comparison. That's insane, right? I mean, it almost makes this look like a lady's watch. But in reality, that is your typical, that was a very common size for forever. Dive watches, when they started coming out, keep in mind, they've been around since the 30s. Panerai really made the first one, which this is based on. This is like based on a 1950 Panerai Luminor. I'll get to this. Let's jump to this one real quick. This is just a beautiful watch. It's working great. So I experimented on this one on purpose again. I found a Patek Philippe buckle for this one. Couldn't resist putting it on here. Again, these are all my personal watches. One on here. I'm making these bands for me so they're a little shorter than they would be if you did a store-bought band. That would come longer than you need if you have a smaller wrist. This tucks in here nicely. All right, looks good. I like that wrap. I like that full wrap more than anything else I have here. It just feels good, man. And now you can see there's the bulge. Right here. I don't know if that's showing up on camera. I hope it is. I guess I'll review this. There's some sawdust in here. I've been wearing it to work. I also like to wear the watch here. If it slides down when I'm working, I'll find myself pushing it up. Sorry if I was out of frame there. I'll find myself pushing that up from time to time throughout the day because this is what's the most comfortable on me personally. So again, you see this bulge here. That's what I wanted to point out to you. All right. Now, this is the latest, and this is the largest. It's even wider, I believe. I think it's slightly wider than the Gladiator watch cuff I made. You can see the comparison on the dials. Now, obviously, the Aragon here has a bigger case. This has a classic look. I mean, this really is reminiscent of your early, like Rolex style Submariner. Very common vibe. Everybody makes it. So on this one, it was so large. This, by the way, this one here, one hole in the band. It's all I need for me, right there. So, roller buckle makes life real easy. So again, you see the wrap here. I really like that. Now, you know, it's a funny situation here on the length. This is one here is shorter because I'm intending on selling these, and I want it to fit a variety of wrists. And you saw on this one how it does not wrap all the way around because it doesn't need to. Same with the ones I made here. People aren't used to this. I would call this more of a cuff because it wraps beyond, what would we say, 180 degrees around the wrist. This one here would lay more across the top and come over the sides on most people, just enough, which is fine. And the original Bunds that you buy, you know what? I'll put this on pause real quick because I know I have one in the box. I showed it before, but hang on. So this here is a store-bought, right? And we can see the difference here. I mean, I've talked about this one before. It's anemic, in my opinion, but that's standard right there, okay? This is not custom. This is pretty much based on what people were wearing back in the early part of the 20th century through mid-century up until now. You can see how much longer this band is because it's store-bought. It's designed to fit a multitude of sizes of wrists. Two keepers, just skinny. It's dressy. It's gentlemanly. If you wore a suit, I understand. I would still pull this off with a suit. It'd be tough because getting the cuff of your suit sleeve over that would be difficult. But this is what you're used to seeing. This is what, if you bought a Bund strap, this is what you can expect typically size-wise, the way that where it wraps. And that's about what, where is it? Did I put it away? Yeah. That's about what this here does. Just far more robust and cooler looking. I mean, wouldn't you rather wear that? There's your size comparison. So, I mean, the ones I'm making are clearly larger. I will say, I feel like, you know, I am gravitating towards larger everything. My wrist supports it. My overall look and vibe and my natural aesthetic walking around on this planet. I'm the kind of guy that can pull this off, and I like that. But I'm not the only one. You're out there. Other people like this sort of thing. So, you know. Where's the calipers? I put those away? Just for curiosity's sake. Okay. 2.1 millimeters, and that's double thick. And it's painted on the edges. You know, that paint does peel off after you wear it after a while. Very skinny here. I don't know, man. I mean, I liked it when I bought it, but now that I'm doing my own thing, obviously, I prefer what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's what you get if you buy it from the store. I don't know if I pointed this out. I just had it on. There's linemen outside working on the power lines. So if you hear some weird noises, that's what's going on. So on this band here, even though it's huge, you can see not really a huge bulge here on the sides. So that is the benefit of running the strap through a slot in the leather and out the other side. I've been wearing this for the last couple of days since I wore it. I love this thing, man. I really, really like this. This one here is a little larger, and I could have thinned that up a little bit. You know, I'm not saying it's a mistake. It's a choice. I don't know if I'd make them that fat again. If somebody wanted me to do that, that's a different story. But, yeah, I mean, I had the idea of making these to sell, but to be honest with you, I don't know if I really can do that. They just take too long. They just cost too much money. But I'm making them anyhow. It's just a hobby right now. It gives me something to do. And I had bought all these watches. So this next, just wanted to go over all these details for you so you can see the differences. Okay, they're all right here. They're all right in front of your face. You can see them. This says Carl 9-inch wrist. This was for my brother with that giant It was like I think it was a 46 millimeter, 47 millimeter Steel Dive 1903 pilot watch with the big onion crown on it. It fit on here fine. And with this watch here, that's going to work good as well. Now this watch happens to have on the bezel, it's just black. There's no color on this one in particular. And I think it's going to look good on here with the pebbled bison hide. I guess you guys can zoom in on this. And then I'll put, that across here. So, you won't see as much of this Bund, right? Because the watch is on top of it. These cross pieces here will be made out of that same material. I think it'll be an interesting difference in contrast. And because it's all black, I think it's going to look fine. I think it's going to look really good, as a matter of fact. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody wants to snap this one up. So I'm doing that. Now, I also happen to have one of these with red on the bezel. And I'm going to order some red thread. And so when I do the other one, where I cut one of these out here, and this is going to have the slots in it, so it will be this style, just smaller, more to this scale, right? But longer, right? Because this Bund is longer than these other. You see that? So I'll be making one of these with a longer Bund in the smooth, with smooth straps, and it's going to have red stitching for this watch to go on it. And I think that's going to look just totally bitchin'. So, yeah, let me look and see how long this video is here. Wow, we're at 26 minutes. I think I'm just going to leave this here and get off because I wanted to start making this. I was going to kind of shoot some video as I did it, talk about the choice I'm making, but honestly, I'm not. It takes me so long to do one of these anyhow because I'm not a pro. I'm turning out pretty pro quality, it seems like to me. But the reason why I'm able to do it and have it look that good when it's finished is because I'm really taking my time and thinking about every detail. And if I'm going to stop and along the way to shoot film of it, I feel like, well, for one thing, it's going to take a lot longer. And then the other thing is if I'm thinking about the film and the angles and you guys and what I should be capturing, then I'm not focused on the work. And it's easier to make a mistake at that point. And I have to tell you, I'm more impressed with my own work now because I've watched a lot of these videos on YouTube. And I watched one last night. Now it's a few years old, and the guy was very proud of himself. And he made this Bund band, and I don't want to judge, but I mean, really, it looked like garbage when it was done. And somebody even made a comment like that, and the guy agreed. But then there's the super pro guys that make it look easy. They skip along, they speed up, but they're not doing things exactly the way I'm doing them. And again, I'm not saying my way is better. It's just the way I'm doing it. Oh my God, this is really cool. So, and these videos don't get a lot of views. I don't intend on them to get a lot of views. It's just my latest thing. Believe me, I'm going to get bored with this. It's going to happen. I'm going to jump on to the next thing. And I'll have this sitting here. But I'm going to always do leather work. That part of it is not a fly-by-night thing for me. This is something I've needed to do. I own a bunch of knives that need sheaths, and I've said it before, and I want to work on... I'll show you this really quick, just because I think it's interesting. All right, so this is a 1911 in a reproduction shoulder holster from what they wore in World War II. Let me clear all this out of the way. And if you've ever watched the show Baba Black Sheep, Robert Conrad, all the pilots were wearing this. You'll see it in all the old films. If you ever watch Magnum P.I., which is a show, it's one of my all-time favorites. I own the series now. I've been watching it at night. You'll see when he puts his tiger stripes on. He goes out in the jungle. He's got to do something. This is what he's wearing. He'll wear a belt on his waist where he'll put his magazine pouches, or his magazines for the 1911 here, in this magazine pouch. Now, when I go out someplace and I'm out in the woods in a state where you can do this, I have a chest rig as well, which the firearm's 100% concealed, so you can just walk around, nobody knows it's there, and it's easy access, made by Hill People Gear. But if you're in Arizona or Idaho or other places like that, you can walk around with this on. And it's great. This is designed for a combat situation where you have relatively easy access to the weapon. You can pull it right out. But the problem is with this, when you're wearing this in the forest, right, and you're walking around, debris gets in here. It gets in the weapon, and if you are carrying this thing in a way that it wasn't loaded, I mean, there was a magazine in it, but there was not anything in the pipe. But if you are carrying it like this with the safety on, which is how you would carry it, this weapon was designed to be carried in this manner. This is called Condition 1. This is super safe. It can't go off here. It's got a grip safety. Even if you put your grip safety in with the safety on, it still can't go off. So you're trained to have muscle memory. So when you draw the weapon, you have your finger out here and your thumb is right here. So you could draw the weapon and you still have a moment to make a decision. So you can take that safety off and boom, and go. Sorry, my hand was blocking that. But yeah, again, so you can have your setup here. You can draw this weapon and boom, boom. Okay? It's designed to carry in Condition 1. So again, if you're walking through the woods and this is in here, because I know this because it's happened to me, shit's getting in there. Okay? That's a problem. So what I've always wanted to do, and I actually talked to this guy. I was at a flea market one day, and I had a guy make me this piece. He did it for me while I waited. So he stitched that up. He did it pretty fast, because I needed this pad to go over my shoulder. This didn't come with one. And I remember talking to him about it, and he said, I could do that for you. And I remember walking away thinking, yeah, I feel like I could do this myself if I had the stuff. So it's been years now. I've been sitting here. I finally have acquired the tools I need. Now I can make one. And I have my original from the core that's black and it's all falling apart. So I can take that, I can pull the stitching out of it, use it as a template. My idea is to make one of these holsters and have it where it has a flap on it here that snaps over. And then possibly here, maybe right here, that's probably the perfect spot for it. Have an extra pouch sewn on it to carry an extra magazine. You know, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I can have the snap right about here. Well, it's nice that it's over there because your weapon isn't. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll just cut the top of it so it's angled like this, and the snap can still stay here, and it flips over. But I think you guys get the idea. And what that'll do is allow me to carry a 10-round magazine in the pistol grip. I can have 7 or 8 rounders here, plus a 7 or 8 rounder right on here, and I'm gaining more firepower, right? So that's just my thing. This is just one of the examples of what I've been wanting to do with this pistol. By the way, with the safety off, still will not go off unless the grip safety is deployed, which you do naturally when you grab this. If you're curious about this weapon, this is a Colt 1991 A1. I also have the officer's model of this, and I brought this to King's Gun Works in Glendale. I don't think they exist anymore, but they were the premier place to bring a 1911 and have it work done. I bought this arched mainspring housing with the lanyard loop off of eBay, and I had them rework this whole pistol. So I think it's a replacement barrel, stainless steel. It's been ported, ramped, worked here for ejection. It's aluminum adjustable trigger now. I kept this one in particular pretty much what it should be as far as looking like, as close as I could get it to the World War II 1911. That was the idea with this. So I kept it simple, although I did upgrade the sights. The rear sight here has a nice outline around the rear aperture there, help you align the front sight there. Very comfortable, great. This is very similar to what I shot in the Marine Corps. And yeah, so this is just one of the things that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. shoulder holster with a cover on it to protect it from the elements when you're out there marching around in the woods. Just a point of interest for you. I hope this doesn't turn too many people off. I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with firearms. It's something I've grown up with. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for being here. I want to slow down on the leather videos a little bit because I think it's bombarding you, and I don't think that many of you are really interested in it. Sorry. We'll get into more stories and all that coming up. It's just my latest thing, and the main thing here was just to reiterate before I get out of here. These are similar, but every single one of them is different. Okay? Similar, but different. It's an actual vintage weight. It says California Aquatics. You wear that on a nylon strap around your waist to help you sink down if you're out there in the ocean. It's a good weight. If I put it this way on something and trace, my stuff doesn't move around. Yeah. You can see the differences. Slotted. Keepers sewn to it that are passed through. 1, 2, 3 of those, and each one of these are different. And on this one here, the straps are sewn directly to the Bund. This is the most difficult. It's also difficult to get the watch on and off. I mean, this really has to be fitted. This is the one that I don't think a lot of people would go for. This is a good biker style, though. If you're riding a Harley or something, it's pretty friggin' tough. So I like this. Like I said, the next one I make today, it's going to be this style right here. Just a little longer. And the next one, it's going to be this again. So that's it. All right, I'm done talking. It's a long friggin' video, right? You guys, I'm sure you've had enough of me by now. Have a great day. Thanks again for being here. Come back often, and I'll catch you all in the next one.